then to the main screen. Hello, everybody on the Suffolk Cram.
Skazz.
Welcome to episode 232. You'll notice we have a interloper in our midst. Zaber has the dreaded, as the Americans say, he's got the Rona.
No, that's the. You think he's got the Rona. That's why I'm back. Just kind of, did him a bit.
Yeah, so I've had to get the intern back in. That's the sort of thing. I've had to hastily edit the graphics.
Oh yeah, let me have a look. Oh, I like that. I really like that. I was going to say to you, why don't you get like a plaster? Just like gaff it over the top. That's great. Hang on, 1 second. Light clap.
Good. Light clap.
Good job.
Yeah. We have an injured Skazz back with us.
Wounded.
Yes. Joining us now. We're hoping that the podcast in 2 weeks' time, Zaber will be better and that Skazz won't have to join us for that one again. But you never know. He might still be ill in the 1 and 2 weeks.
If he isn't back in 2 weeks, just wait longer.
Yeah. Just wait. I think he'll be back in January in that situation. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
So Skazz, long time no see. How you been?
I'm a lot. Well, I was going to say I'm alive, man. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I'm wounded.
What did you do to yourself? Is it something you can talk about on podcast? Is it clean enough to talk about on podcast?
No, I'm sorry. No, I can't. Then no. I'm a citizen of the internet, and I'm a guy, and it's a good thing I'm used to doing things one-handed. But I think I might have gone a little too far.
Yeah.
So
happens, mate. Happens.
I mean, I'll take your word for it, Ram. I mean, we can't all be, with the ladies like you.
The ladies? What ladies?
Oh, so you got like what the clouds?
Well, we've got
the men,
the sheep, the pigs, the cattle.
That's not a very nice way to speak to the fucking women. The cows.
Yeah. Like couple of I hereby classify you as cattle.
Them some good breeding hips.
Yeah. Funny you say that. Apparently, I was told this story when my a friend of mine, who is a farmer, when he first got off his his now wife, they don't haven't been going together very long, and one day she walked past him and he goes, "Oh, you've got the hips of a dairy cow."
What a compliment. Add that to the list, guys. I mean, he's been married and had children since, right?
So it worked. But see, what he meant is she had good hips for breeding, is what he basically meant. But yeah, his compliment was, "You've got the hips of a dairy cow."
Women these days won't get that.
Yeah.
So he's got a good one.
Fortunately, his wife didn't take offence. So it's nice than what he said to me once. So there's improvement there in that regards.
Well, you've got the hips of a dairy cow.
No, we were discussing our various weights, and I said to him I weighed about 100. I said I weighed about 120 kilos. He goes, "Oh, you're a fat pig there, pagan weight."
You're about ready for the slaughter, right?
Yeah, you're ready to go. It's like, cheers, thanks,
mate.
Thanks, mate. But his pork does taste good, and that's the secret sauce, you see.
Just chucking people that work into the farm into the grinder. That food is really good. Those hampers are fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, your hamper's on order.
Mate, can't wait.
I need to speak to you about that after the podcast anyway.
Sounds like a plan, man.
We'll discuss that. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us this episode 282. It's been great to have us back. It's great to have Skazz back.
Hang on. Oh, mate, 232.
That's going to really throw you because you've missed several.
Dude,
you've completely lost track now of what a podcast is. I could tell you the podcast 500, and you'll be completely lost.
See, you've completely screwed with me because you said you changed the podcast days. You changed the days, Ram.
Yes.
You're doing different things, Ram. And I'm like, yeah, mate, my week has always been planned. Wednesdays and Saturdays is when stuff happens, right? I actually genuinely started freaking out when I kind of stopped doing them. All that time ago, I started freaking out. Like I was having like withdrawal. I didn't know what to do.
Ran has never been compared to crack cocaine before, but there we go.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's damn true. And then he fucking changes everything. Watch your language, Ram, please.
I know, I quite enjoy the 6:30 podcast. It's quite nice. You get done, it gets about 6:30. Oh, I'm done now. I can go watch some TV.
Yeah, but see, here's the trick, though. I'm here now, which means that even though you've started at 6:30, was probably still not actually going to get anywhere until 10, 11.
We might
next day.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Because we've got another one to record. We ain't got another one to record, obviously, after this at all. But we have,
No,
it's not doubling up at all.
Never done that before.
Well, as the guest is back, and he's a guest now, we'll have to ask what Skazz has been up to, apart from doing things to his fingers and unmentionable things to his fingers.
Yeah. Well,
what have you done to your finger, if you don't mind me asking? What actually have you done?
So, do you remember all them years ago? I was doing things I shouldn't be doing to drains. Very sexy drain pipes. I was laying some pipe, right, mate? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and so do you remember I almost lost my leg a few years ago? I had to spend a couple of weeks in hospital.
Yes.
All right. Well, apparently this could be tied into that.
What? It's all like move from your leg to your finger.
Well, no, it's because it's for the last like 3 or so years I've been wearing gloves on the regular, and my immune system has been through the floor. And it turns out that I've had a few lingering problems that we couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting better. And so, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Your body will fight that. I'll be gone within a couple of years. It's like, oh yeah, well I've had them for like I've had it for like 4 to 8 years now, and they're like, oh well, don't worry, it's not that big of a deal unless you're dealing with.
Did the eyes go wide and go, oh?
Well, so I've been trying to get this sorted for a few years since like before COVID, and I started getting palmed off by the NHS, kind of giving the old no, it's not that big of a deal, it's not that big of a deal thing. They said, well, it's not that big of a deal unless, and they start listing out these specific things. And I was like,
bike rider, has kids,
chronic wanker, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like,
house, spaniel,
and I was like, all of the above, mate. And they were like, oh, and so we. The trouble is, my son started getting sick. My wife has an immune condition as well, and I'm supposed to be their carer, right? But it got to the point where everything kind of went the wrong way, and I became like kryptonite to them. If like they were like Superman, I was kryptonite, and so I couldn't help them. So I had to keep kind of like sterilizing things. I had to wear gloves to do everything. My skin started to get kind of weak. It was really not particularly pleasant, and trying to get the doctors to do anything just wasn't a thing. My son goes in, they check him, and they say, all right, we'll sort out a referral. Like he doesn't need to be sorted. There's other stuff for him. He'll be fine. Months later, turns out he was fine. They look at me, holy Christ, this isn't particularly great. We'll see if we can get you a referral to the hospital. The hospital says no. We can try and get you a grant. The hospital says no, because I could have got a grant to go private. Hospital says no. I go in a little bit later after a balked blood test that the doctors asked for, and it caused my arm to swell up. Like it looked like I'd broken my arm. Like my entire arm kind of went purple. And it was from that point I go to see my doctor again, and he's like, "Oh Christ, hang on. That all the stuff you've got on your arm could act like a tourniquet."
Oh shit!
And I was like,
"Oh shit!"
Right, okay, that's a problem. And then he takes a look at my hands, and he's like, "How long has this been a thing? Because your hands are swelling up too." And I was like, "Oh yeah, ages." He goes, "Your wedding ring, that's gonna have to come off, because your hand is." And as he starts to try and pull off the wedding ring, he's like cleaving chunks of skin off my hand.
Oh fucking hell!
Yeah, and so
I always told you
from
getting married is bad for you.
well, it's mainly affected my ring finger. So it's not been great. So I had to take the wedding ring off, and then after that, he was like, "Look, I'm gonna have to get you in to see someone because this just ain't right. Your body should be doing something with this. It's not right." And so I had to go in, and they're just trying to well, from where my hand has all started to swell up, they're trying to make that not a thing. Um, and yeah, it's not great. So from now until January, I'll be going in for regular appointments at the doctors to have the doctors in the hospital to try and get them to fix my hands up.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
at least you're on the mend.
long story,
but you're on the mend. That's good.
Yeah, mate. And I found out today from the doctor, they're not getting paid. It's not covered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the NHS won't. They still won't cover it, even though it's being treated. And I've had 4 medical professionals now tell me this is a pretty not great situation I've got myself into. Speaking to the doctor today, he said, "Look, I'll do it anyway." He said it's not covered, but we'll do it anyway. So,
well, that's good on them.
Yeah, really pleased. Really pleased because it could have turned out to be quite expensive.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. We've had a comment. Nice to see you back. Thank you very much for saying that. I really appreciate it.
We're back.
We're back.
Yeah, it's been all great, but I haven't been able to really play any games because my hands are gammy. But I have been messing around with some tech.
Go for it. Yeah, talk about it.
So, where I've been trying to take a bit of a break, I've been kind of craving my old setups. Like, so I miss game and I miss the old stuff. If you remember, I used to have a games room with all my equipment set up.
Yes, you did.
Like all my old consoles, and I had video scalers and audio mixers and all that kind of stuff. And all of that got pulled apart. It's really sad. Really sad. All this equipment, all these scalers, all this cool stuff, couldn't use it. And just before I left the podcast, I managed to put in an order for, or it was around the time I left the podcast, I managed to put in an order for an analog pocket, which is an FPGA retro console. You know what an FPGA is? I'd hope so.
Yeah. Oh God. Programmable.
Should I just say Field Programmable Gate Array.
That's it. I was struggling with the F part because what was the field? I was running the F part. But yeah.
Yeah, everyone says that's something different, but from what I remember, it's Field Programmable Gate Array.
Sounds right to memory.
I don't remember what the other variant is that people say, but I from what I remember, that's what it is. Anyways, what that is, normally you have software emulation and hardware emulation. FPGA is hardware emulation. Software emulation is you run an environment on your computer, a program on your computer, and that will simulate an environment to run another piece of software. All right. The trouble with software emulation generally is that it is sequential. So, it's got a list of code, a list of instructions, and it runs down that list as is. An FPGA will have the same list, but because it's operating like real hardware, assuming that
because actually
the real hardware, it can do things in parallel.
Yeah.
So in theory, or more, it can do things more sarcastic quotes more accurately, and there'll be reduced latency because of the fact that it can do things like parallel. It can run instructions in parallel and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Just quickly to dispel, FPGA doesn't always mean it's more accurate than an emulator. Okay?
Well,
that is going to be entirely...
It depends entirely on who programmed it.
Exactly. It depends on the quality of the FPGA. So if the FPGA actually has the space on it to run the instructions, imagine an FPGA as like your inventory in Resident Evil, like where you've got a box or a grid.
Yeah.
You have to organize everything in the grid to make it fit.
Yeah.
And different instructions will take up a different number of kind of boxes or things or different number of spaces in your grid. And as long as you can fit them all in, then you've got a pretty accurate FPGA. It's all down to how many instructions the thing can take and the skills really of the person coding the the core, the FPGA, the code that's running on it.
And programming hardware, like at hardware level, is when we get like that, is a lot more complicated than software level. It is. Sure. You're dealing with having to work out like latency and components and stuff. It's a lot trickier.
It's magical stuff. It's really magical stuff. Because I remember when
people who are good at it are like wizards, basically.
When it works, it's absolutely fantastic. But you have to remember, it's all down to the FPGA itself, the capabilities of the FPGA, and the person coding it. It doesn't always mean that it's going to be more accurate than a software emulator, but the potential is there. So I get this little FPGA handheld console, and it's okay. Look, I'm expecting the world from this thing, right? But the cores on it weren't fantastic. There were some things on it that just didn't function as I'd like them to. So, as an example, the Analog Pocket allows you to plug in cartridges, run actual cartridges, and it also allows you to dock the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy like shaped console handheld into a dock, and then it'll come out on the TV. A few things that I need when I play emulation. If I'm playing Game Boy Advance, I need to have a muted color palette, and I need to have frame blending or LCD dithering turned on, or something to that effect, like a ghosting. Okay, just in case anyone's curious what that is. So the Game Boy Advance had a very oversaturated color palette because the Game Boy Advance didn't have a backlight on its display. It wasn't back, side lit, whatever lit. It wasn't lit at all. It was just a bare-ass LCD.
Yeah.
No lighting on it. No, that was the original Game Boy. Game Boy Advance Color.
Oh, okay.
But it because it didn't have a backlight. Well, I don't think any of the Game Boys really had backlights properly until the Game Boy Pocket Light.
They were front-lit one. They mostly, when they did add lighting, they front-lit it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was the Game Boy Advance SP.
Yeah,
the clamshell thing. Neat systems, but they because it wasn't lit originally. To compensate for this, they oversaturated everything on the color palette. So, like, if all you needed was a little bit of light and things looked right, yeah?
Yeah.
But if you were to then use a Game Boy Advance player or to emulate things, stuff would look really oversaturated because, well, obviously it's been perfectly lit.
Yeah.
And so it would kind of look weird. I like to have a muted color palette to have it display almost as it would.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't look like all the colors are really popping and like, frankly, it looks terrible if you play Game Boy Advance games on an emulator and you don't mute the colors. It just looks too bright and not right. You know, your character goes from being a blonde kid to having this electric yellow hair kind of thing or something like that. It's just not. It doesn't look right to me. The other thing is like dithering, frame blending. And the reason for that is because of the types of display that Nintendo used to put in their handhelds. They would almost simulate a transparency effect by kind of utilizing screen ghosting, like delay between frames. So you'd go on, off, on, off. And because of the delay between on and off, there'd still be like a ghosted image.
Yeah,
of the thing on the off frame,
a bit like pulse width modulation in like when they used how like dimmable LEDs work. They don't dim; they just basically go on off.
Yeah, they flicker. So you end up, because that's why a lot of people can't use like OLED screens and they get headaches and stuff. It's usually because of PWM. The faster the flicker, we don't see it, but we can still kind of perceive it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of thing that they do on the Game Boys and the Game Boy Advances, and so. It would kind of give you a kind of effect of transparency. If you don't have those options for Game Boy Advance, I can't play them because some of the games that I play use those features.
Yeah.
They use that like the blending effect.
They've been designed around it, haven't they?
Yeah. So when you play in an emulator, like for example, a clear example, and the one that I test all this stuff on is F-Zero Maximum Velocity. It's one of my favorite games on the Game Boy Advance. It's a little racing game. You ever played any of the games in the F-Zero franchise, Ram?
I know of them, but I've never played any of them.
Sure. Well, I use this game to test specifically because, one, I like the muted color palette on it. The colors just look right. Purple looks purple instead of like right in your face. All the colors look as they should. And the map, there's a map, like a track map in the bottom left-hand corner. If you play it on emulators or FPGAs and that without frame blending or dithering, it just flashes in the bottom corner, and it's really, really, really annoying. Turn on frame blending, and it looks right, just like it did on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
The Analog Pocket allows you to play games on cartridges, and since they unlocked there's 2 FPGA cores on it. One of them is for the cartridge slot, and one of them allows you to run games off of the memory card slot. And as of now, I don't know if they've updated it or if they're probably going to update it in the future because I've got 2 firmware releases coming out soon. As of right now, the only way to use the muted color palettes and use frame blending is by putting in an actual cartridge, and that is a ball ache. So you don't do it, and then it looks terrible. The Analog Pocket is absolutely beautiful for a piece of hardware. It is beautiful, but having to carry around those cartridges to be able to use those effects, it's not a thing for me. It's not a thing for me because I've been spoilt by portable emulation devices, software emulation devices, and those give me the ability to mute the color palette and turn on frame blending. So at that point, whilst the FPGA is supposed to be, sarcastic air quotes, more accurate, the software emulator is better. I've been asked, actually, in a lot of cases, which do I feel is better, FPGA or software? And I say it really depends on what you want. If you get a more powerful FPGA system like the Mister FPGA or the Mars FPGA that isn't out yet. The Mars isn't, the Mister is. The Mister cores have all of the frame blending and palette options, and you just run ROMs off of it. That's phenomenal. FPGA on that, phenomenal. The analog, not so much. Here's the trick, though. So I've gone on a bit of a tangent. If you want a portable emulation device and you're not particularly bothered by latency, controller latency, input latency, handheld emulation device, pretty much anyone on the market right now from 50 quid up to about 150 quid will be absolutely phenomenal for most people's needs. Just buy the one that has any extra specific features you might like. Analog sticks, TV out, that kind of thing. Is it Android-based, Linux-based, whatever? I've been on a hunt to find like my ultimate retro handheld. Is it an FPGA? Is it a software emulator? Depends on the stuff. Or if you do want to play your cartridges, or you don't mind, not having access to that kind of stuff like the palettes and all that, go FPGA. But FPGA is going to cost you about my Analog Pocket, the Analog Pocket, the dock, and the case, and a screen protector came in after shipping and import fees, nearly £500.
Ooh.
There's a huge difference. And that, for the sake of sarcastic air quotes, accuracy, unless you are sensitive to latency, input specifically, just go with a software emulator.
You're
going to get majority of the features. With the extra like 400 notes in your back pocket, there's so much stuff you could be doing. I will say though, Mister FPGA, that has direct interface for regular controllers, a serial interface for plugging in actual control pads from like Saturn and Super Nintendo and NES and all that. So you don't have to worry about latency there, right? But note that some of the latency you're feeling is probably actually coming from your television set.
Yeah.
Probably more so than the controller input.
Mm.
And if you can really hardcore feel the controller input, sometimes I'm quite skeptical about that when people say they can really feel controller lag. Something that I think most people could adapt to, but unless you're going to be playing like shmups and stuff, I don't really think it matters. But you have to figure out, is it worth 350 quid to 500 quid to go FPGA of a software?
Yeah.
Now, I own an Analog Pocket. I own a Mister FPGA. I actually bought the Mister FPGA after I got the Analog Pocket because I wasn't happy with the way that the Analog Pocket wouldn't give me access to all those extra features I wanted out of the box. Mister is phenomenal if you want a home console. Absolutely phenomenal if you want a home console. And it's great if you want to play Saturn and N64, which isn't emulated very well. And it's great if you want to play light gun games because you can hook it straight up to a TV and use one of the adapters, the serial adapters, to plug in a light gun and play with the actual hardware. That's fucking that's phenomenal.
How does the light guns work? Because I thought that wasn't possible anymore with
So you in the case
TVs.
of the so in the case of the Mister and that, I went for the analog option. So Mister has analog and digital. It's based on the DE10 Nano FPGA development board.
Yeah.
And it's got HDMI out on it by default, but you can buy an expansion board to go on top that has what looks like a VGA connector.
Right.
And you can connect that up to VGA, RGB SCART. I think there's an adapter for composite video in there. And then you plug it into a CRT TV. And then that way you can use your actual light guns on the actual games. Because obviously it's an FPGA, so it's going to be functioning, if coded correctly, like an actual console.
Yeah, no, because I always thought that what stopped light guns was the TV. So I thought you were using like
because of the syncs. There are modern light guns that apparently do function on modern TVs, but I think that's more. You get like a little pointer cursor, like a red dot.
Yeah,
kind of like using a Wii remote or whatever.
Yeah, I thought they use like a little base station that basically triangulates the position of the gun and works out the angle it's pointing, works out where it's on the screen or something.
I think that's what they've got going in some cases, but for me, I wanted to play like Time Crisis and Point Blank and Virtual Cop. We still have a CRT at my parents' house, and the Mister is small enough to whap in a bag and go. So sometimes you just kind of like take it to my parents' house, bust out the light guns, and we play some like Virtual Cop or Time Crisis or whatever. Should know actually as well, these things aren't very powerful. Like, don't expect to play like in the case of the Mister is more powerful than the Analog Pocket. The Mister will play things up to Saturn, PlayStation, N64. N64 is a push. The analog, expect like Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Mega Drive, that kind of stuff. Don't expect anything 3D like PlayStation or whatever. Significantly less powerful than the Mister. The reason I went for the analog as well, actually, just as a note, is because my hands are stuffed. And the Mister is an open source project, and you have to actually put the pieces together. It's just like Lego, really. You just go, here's the RAM, the RAM stick it in the board. Here's your other board, push it into the GPIO pins and stuff. Like, it's just like a sandwich, just push fit it together. But because I can't feel my hands very well, that can be kind of risky. Even using a screwdriver for me these days is pretty brutal. I've murdered many a laptop in recent history through that kind of stuff. But no, the playing around with Mister and all that, depending on what you want to do, it is really what you want to do, right? If you aren't sensitive to input lag, don't worry about FPGAs. Don't drink the Kool-Aid that the retro community is kind of peddling to you. Don't go, oh mate, but it's super accurate. Depends on the FPGA and depends on the coder. Oh mate, it's got all these features and this and that and whatever. But you can get most of those features on an actual emulator.
There comes a point where software emulation is basically a brute force approach.
Yeah.
And if you have if the processing is powerful enough, you at that point it doesn't matter because it's powerful enough. The noticeability goes down.
Sure. And there are magical algorithmic tricks that people are doing to reduce input and output lag.
Yeah.
So if you are one of those people who are sensitive to that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, what I'm trying to get at is that I own those things. I own those big boy devices. I own the original hardware. I own video scalers. And then I went and spent like another couple £100 after that buying different retro handhelds.
Yeah.
Like just little emulators, like a Linux one. I've got a couple of Android ones, and they're phenomenal. Like, frankly, if all you want to do is just dip your toes in and play some games when you're on the toilet, go for it. Just pick one. Pick your poison. Do you want the bespoke FPGA system, or do you want like a cheapy little handheld you can just chuck in your bag and do whatever?
Yeah.
The games are going to play largely the same.
Yeah, of course they will.
So, and emulation has just gone so good.
Yeah.
In recent history. I've just been playing with those things. I haven't been able to really play games, but it's just been nice to just kind of sit there and go, you can listen to the music on them. I wanted to do some coding on the analog.
Yeah.
Because they've got like Game Boy Studio included on it, which is a program that you can make Game Boy games with it, like cool. a WYSIWYG thing. You can download the software on your computer, and then you load the games onto the Analog Pocket.
Oh, neat.
They also include a license to NanoLoop, which is a MIDI program. Analog also sells cables, so you can plug the Analog Pocket into like a MIDI keyboard or whatever, so you can actually play the output sounds from the Analog Pocket or the Game Boy Advance or whatever from the keyboard. It's really cool. People have been doing that with modified original Game Boys over the years. Really fantastic stuff for nearly £500.
Yeah.
Really just depends. It depends what you want to do. It's just been nice to I can sit there, I can listen to some music, I can look at this gorgeous screen, I can maybe daydream one day I'll be one of those wizards that can program an FPGA. I can play some Saturn games on a CRT, or I can go, I don't want to put my £500 handheld console into a skanking backpack or in my pocket and walk into town with it. I'll just buy a £50 emulation device.
Yeah.
And the saves will work between because they're just SRAM dumps. And it's been really cool to play with that kind of stuff. Have you ever thought of doing any of that?
I've thought of dabbling with it because I came to sort of gaming quite late in many ways, so I sort of missed. I know I had a Game Boy. I had a Sega Mega Drive.
Good system.
Nintendo. It was a nice system, and I've emulated Sega Mega Drive games before. We had a, what was it called? Doesn't exist anymore. It was a brand that sort of like tried it, and they didn't. Oh, what was it called?
The CDI?
No, it was a handheld. It looked like it was you had it was like a screen in the middle, controls on either side.
Clicky stick?
Man, clicky stick. What was it called? It was early 2000s. We had that.
Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Neo Geo. Yes, I think it was a Neo Geo we had.
The Pocket. Yeah, that had been the Neo Geo Pocket. I had one of those. I loved that.
Yeah, we had one of those.
Mate, that was I don't know what you thought, but I thought that was a phenomenal console.
Yeah, I played
amazing little system.
Some random game on it where you were like a robot. It's a robot and you were like battling other people and stuff. I remember playing on it. I got into it quite a lot.
Biomotor Unitron.
Probably, yeah, probably. Wasn't your character like a lizardy thing? I vaguely remember.
You could be a lizard man. Like, and the idea was that you would go to one of these 4 dungeons around the town.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And you could go to like the pub and talk to like a fortune teller. You could go to the battle arena, or you could go to the workshop and have your teammate kind of built, because you had a teammate who was an engineer, and he or she would build your robot.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yes, but mate, you actually you had a copy of Biomotor Unitron. You lucky bastard.
Yeah, I think it's in a box somewhere, to be honest.
Oh my God, Ram.
Turns out I was hidden, didn't know it.
I've only ever played it through ROM. That was one that Bard absolutely gushed over back in the day.
Yeah.
He loved that game. He would always tell people, "Yeah, mate, you got to play Biomotor Unitron on the Neo Geo Pocket." But no one bought a Neo Geo Pocket.
We did.
And but yeah, you did. And when I first saw it, I was like, "Nah, Neo Geo Pocket, nah, I ain't gonna get one of them." And then when I got one, I was like, "Oh crap, I want to play these games." And then nowhere was selling the games anymore.
Yeah,
like you'd see a couple of them because it didn't last long in the UK, did it?
No, it disappeared very quickly. It disappeared. I think it wasn't long after we got it, it basically disappeared. So it's like, oh well, there's nothing we purchased that was a bit of a failure.
Oh mate, but that's such a good handheld.
Oh, it was
so good.
I enjoyed it. No,
I mean, it had some phenomenal fighting games on it. Biomotor Unitron on it. I mean, the user interface in Biomotor Unitron's a bit, but the music on it's good and the sprites are beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's a fun little game. I played that quite a lot because it was my sister who originally got it, but she didn't really play it very much, and I ended up playing this Biomotor Unitron and getting quite into it. Playing it a lot.
Gonna have to send you an image of the cartridge, man. That's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
No, I know. So yeah, I never really got into like the Pocket stuff. I was always very early on gravitated towards PC gaming, computer gaming quite early on, and sort of stuck with it since.
Sure.
We had an Amiga. So is that PC?
Oh, I had an Amiga.
Or is that PC, or was that more? I mean, in my head, I see it more like a console because plugged into your telly, but it wasn't.
Yeah, more people just bought that to play games, dude.
Yeah, but
I got told there were Amiga monitors. Like there were monitors for Amigas. I was like, I've never seen one, but like everyone I knew just used to plug like their Commodore 64 or their Amiga and that into the telly.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah. And I had that awful they had the awful mouse which was square and two big square buttons on it.
Yeah.
I think ours was like a really awful shade of green, but like a really sort of like minty green, but quite light coloured.
You sure you weren't smoking around it, Ram?
No, I don't do that. No, I didn't do that at the time.
I was going to say because those things did change colour pretty quickly, and they weren't really,
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't supposed to, but they did.
My sister, I felt sorry for her. She once made in there. It was like a paint program on it, and she once drew using just the mouse this wonderful like landscape picture stuff. It was absolutely wonderful. But something that she now has learned that is just save regularly.
Oh mate, no.
She didn't save at all, and then the Amiga crashed.
Brutal.
Yeah, because it crashed with the screen, with it frozen on screen, and we could see it, and you couldn't save it. And the
is that where everyone ran to get a camera? You got a pocket camera, and then the flash just reflected off the TV, and you're like, no.
There was nothing we could do because there's no way we could. We were hoping that it might sort of wake up and like sort of come back, and of course it didn't.
You left it sitting there for days just to see if it had
not quite that long.
Come back.
Not long. It was the only TV in the house, and I wanted to watch television. But
Ram, how could you?
Was like so. It felt like in some ways this kind of life support of sort of a loved one. Really, we had to switch it off and lose this lovely image.
Oh mate, no!
It was horrible. I was like, oh, and it's like you should have saved more often.
It's like I didn't know I had to.
Well, now you've learned.
Computers don't go wrong.
Yeah.
Oh mate.
Funny that
Go on.
Sorry, go on. I'll say, talking of saving, that actually sort of slightly segues into what I'm going to be talking about.
Oh,
yeah. So, is there anything else you want to add on to emulation and stuff before we move on?
Just get what fits your budget. All of these emulation systems are largely the same. FPGAs are cool.
Yeah.
They're expensive. They are really expensive. Just enjoy games.
Yeah. It's something I would almost say for the actual enthusiast to want, if you're really into your emulation stuff. If you're just someone who wants
if you've got money to burn,
yeah.
And you really want it, go for it. If you're on the fence about it, if you're thinking about it, don't.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to like go, do I really want it? Don't.
If you're supposed to play the old sort of emulated game every now and again, probably not worth it. But if you're really into emulation and stuff, and you're really keen on classic retro gaming, then it's probably worth doing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, the same brings me on to because what I've been playing, and I have been playing a game which I've not discussed as a playing a game on podcast, but anyone who's listened to the podcast for a long time will know about it because it's one of my favourite games of all time. I've been playing Thief Deadly Shadows.
Oh, Thief 3.
Thief 3, yes. Thief 3. The third Thief game in the trilogy.
With the water arrows.
All Thieves have water arrows, but yes, it has water arrows as well.
I don't remember them in the other ones, but
it was in the other ones. So the difference between Thief 3 to the other ones is it got rid of the rope arrows. So
that might have been it.
Yeah, rope arrows are ones that you could basically shoot into anything that was wood and then drop a rope down. So they got rid of those, but they replaced them with climbing gloves, which you could climb on anything that was stone. But that was the sort of bit. But it had, other than that, it had all the same arrows. You had water arrows, gas arrows, fire arrows, and so forth.
Deadly Shadows, wasn't that the first one consoleized?
Yes, it was.
Because it was an Xbox. Because I played it on Xbox.
Yeah, it was it was the first console Thief game. The others I don't think ever made. Yeah, very good game. It was a game I remember buying. It came out in 2004, if memory serves me right.
Was it that late?
Yeah, it might have been 2003, but it's 2000. I was the only reason I say that is I was at college at the time doing my IT, so I know roughly when it was. But I'm sure it was 2004. It was definitely because it was a Unreal 2 engine game as well. And it was around at the same time.
Old.
Yeah, it was also around at the same time that because it came out after Deus Ex: Invisible War as well. So because they're basically made by very similar. I think there's a lot of crossover in the teams.
Invisible War was the consoled,
very consoleized Deus Ex.
Yeah,
game.
console. Yeah, because they tried to make it fit onto an Xbox, didn't they, or something to that effect? And then when it came to PC, people were like, "Ooh, what's going on?"
Luckily, those were back in the days where you could mod it all, so very easy by just changing it through INI files to fix all that stuff. So, yeah, because people complained about the HUD was too so close.
It was a circular one, wasn't it?
Yeah, people complained about the HUD being too so close to the middle, so they had to patch.
I was thinking of the infantry.
Yeah,
the infantry is that circle, isn't it?
It was very simple. It wasn't as Invisible War was not as bad as people made out it was at the time. The trouble was it was very different to Deus Ex. Original Deus Ex, very different. It was a lot simpler to it, and I didn't like the fact it got simplified. However, the game itself wasn't that bad. It got a lot of bad rep, and that tarnished its reputation a little bit. Thief, people were about Thief, but Thief they stuck more to the original game. Now, the thing about Thief Deadly Shadows is it does not play well with modern systems.
I wouldn't imagine so. No, not given that age.
No, it doesn't play well. It won't. You're lucky to get it. It will just about launch, but it can't handle. Has no widescreen support properly set in.
Sound work?
Sound works okay, but overall it doesn't work very well. Fortunately, there's a group of die-hard Thief people out there who, since the sort of mid to late 2000s, when basically Operation started getting released with Thief problems, they've been releasing fan patches. And there's one specific fan patch called the Sneaky Upgrade. It's like the patch you can get. And it's a little installer. You install it. It fixes the resolution, so you can play in ultra-wide. It fixes lots of little things. It does little tweaks as well. So you basically, by default, when you install it, you can basically do minimal... Basically, the basic install, if you want, just basically makes it work and doesn't do anything else to it. But you can add other things onto it. So I put a few options in. So I don't want to change too much in the mechanics. I want to sort of stick with, but I just want to sort of do a little bit of tweaking. So
mechanics tweaks,
not mechanics tweaks, but
so the stuff that was in there would be AI fixes.
There was lots of things. If you look at the option menu, there's a huge amount of things you can change. You can change the AI, you can do lots of stuff with it. It comes with a configuration tool to change it all. But the one thing I did, a couple of things I did do was there's an option that because one thing they did in Thief like original Thief with the Dark Project, then you had Thief Gold, which is a was Dark Project but like remastered with extra levels in it. They had Thief: The Metal Age, which was the second one. You in those games, your health was on the right hand side and your like infantry stuff was on the left hand side. Thief Deadly Shadows, they swapped it round. So basically, what this game doesn't trip me out, but it's like, but why? The mod switches it back for you. Make it
wow, what an option!
It's an option, but there's 2 bits on it which weren't in the original Thief, which I did add in, and they are really good. First is, in the first 2 Thief games, every mission started with an animated, not so much an animated cutscene. The animated cutscene was like a series of images that Garrett, the main character, talked over. That's all like, they saw like these feels like they move and like zoom in, but they're stationary. They're meant to look like almost painted, like stylized, and usually with some sound effects in the background. Deadly Shadows did have that. They just had Garrett reading basically a text. The text would come on the screen, and Garrett just read it out. Somebody's gone through all the main missions and made cutscenes that look very similar to the original style.
Wow, that's dedication.
They've added in music, they've added in sound effects, and it is seamless. They are so well done. And literally, you can see that all they've done is basically gone to parts of the level, took a screenshot, and put through some filters on Photoshop to make it look like it's supposed to. But it's so well done. And it is. I had the in to see what it's like, and it's like, I'm sold. That's going to stay. That is so good. The other magical thing they've done is Deadly Shadows and Invisible War had the same issue and again this is mainly because of consoles, was the levels couldn't be very big. Because so because basically because they're sort of
there's like hardly any RAM on those consoles for a start.
So the levels were really tiny. So a level would be split into like 2 sections normally. FIFA, I think all of their levels are split into 2 sections. And you basically you'd have to go through a loading screen to go back and forth between the areas, which is sort of like breaks the flow up a bit. They have gone through and basically merged all the levels together. So they lose the loading, so there's no loading screen anymore. So literally, it's a bit weird because how Thief disguised it was, you basically would say in the first one there's a castle, you walk down a long corridor, and then you would hit the loading screen, and you then start the game. Basically, the corridor will be almost mirrored that you then walk down. So now you just have this really long corridor that they've literally stitched the 2 together.
Oh, sure.
Which I'm actually kind of glad you did that way rather than try and sort of I like it when modders just sort of tweak a few bits without trying to overwrite the original creative vision. So by that I mean things like I'm not a fan of texture packs and stuff because they're never quite as good as the original artists had a vision and design and so forth, and they can get close to it. They're not always as good as they could be. But
sometimes things just look really out of place.
Exactly. They've just linked the 2 levels together. So it's just magical. You sort of to the point where actually I was trying to remember where the joins were. Some it's really obvious where the join is. You can tell straight away. Oh yeah, this is where the loading screen is. Some are more egregious than others. For example, the famous level of Thief is the cradle. And in the cradle, you walk through the join. You walk down a sort of corridor into this exercise yard. But the other side of the exercise yard would be the loading screen. But then what they do in the other part is it almost be like the loading screen got moved to the other side of the exercise yard. So imagine if you're looking down top down, it'd be north and south. The loading screen would be the north side. You'd walk through it, and when you get to the next level, they'd move to the south side. So you the same exercise yard, it's just shifted across. So what this means is, in this version, is you walk down, you go into an exercise yard, walk a bit longer, then you go into another exercise yard, and then you get to the actual place. It's a bit weird. So that's an obvious join. But some of them, I actually can't. I was like, I don't remember where these 2 levels joined. Or where. So I actually can't remember. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. Really, it's and the thing is, this was updated this year. They're still updating it.
Just as a note, a little kind of random thing for people to try and figure out, because I can't remember for the life of me, but it's about how levels joined and how developers back in the day got around having smaller maps and trying to join them together. Do you, because I don't remember which one this is, do you remember the game that to get around storage limits, RAM limits, loading limits. They had smaller levels, and to get from one map to the next, it would almost like kind of quick save, load in the new map, and then quick load, or like you get what I mean? Like it would quickly save, load in, and then boot you into the next one. But they it seemed almost seamless, but it's actually there's like a little hitch, and that hitch is actually like a save state being made.
Is that what Oblivion did? Because you used to get occasionally you'd have a little stutter while you jumped the loading screen to the next bit. Is that what Oblivion did?
It might have been Oblivion. I don't remember. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it might have been something like. Because I don't imagine that being anything on Deus Ex. It might have been something.
Deus Ex Invisible War definitely had loading screen. This is why I did. Why I sort of that sort of ruined it, because there's a level at first in Deus Ex you start on an island, basically Liberty Island. You basically start on
outside of UNATCO.
Outside UNATCO, and that you can explore the whole island. It's huge. In Invisible War, the last level takes place on Liberty Island. Because of RAM issues, it's split into about 4 different sections, which breaks the flow up. Yeah, it breaks the whole flow up because they couldn't do it. Which it breaks up the immersion. We have to keep going from loading screen to loading screen. But I think the one I'm referring to is I think Oblivion used to do that sort of like save quick load type trick to get you across different sections. I have a feeling because that'd be a very Bethesda thing to do.
It could have been Morrowind.
Morrowind,
earlier than Oblivion. Yeah, it might have been.
Yes, it could well be Morrowind actually. Yeah, it could have been. So
the reason, look into that at some point. That's going to do me nuts.
The thing is, the reason I sort of mentioned saving actually is one thing I forgot about Thief is Thief was from a time of games where you had to remember to save.
Intimate relationship with F5.
Yeah, Thief has no autosave at all. So I was playing, I'm literally like sort of getting to the second level and thinking, this is good. And I just had a little battle and nearly got killed by a hammerhead, Was it? No, a pagan. And I think to myself, oh good, that was lucky. I might have had to reload the checkpoint. And I thought, hang on a second, this game doesn't have checkpoints. Quickly load.
Surprise.
Oh no, my last save was literally the start of the game. Oops.
Good job, man.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I've had that. I've had that.
There are sort of few issues. So, perhaps I talk about the actual mechanics of the game. So, Thief Deadly Shadows, you play a thief called Garrett, and the Thief Deadly Shadows is the third game in the trilogy, and it's based around three. There's 3 sort of like It's placed in a place called the City. That's all it's called. It's not given any other name. Very little's known about it because actually, in most cases very small scale. What you're dealing with. Garrett is a thief. Primarily, he's a thief. He got trained by an order called the Keepers, who basically he basically managed to try to pickpocket one of their members, and he was like, "It's very impressive you're able to see me. I don't want to be seen," because the Keepers can like hide in plain sight and stuff. They use glyphs to be sort of magical, and so they brought Garrett on board, and he basically decides, actually, no, this isn't for me. I'm going to go freelance. And it's always wondered why he never got killed. You find out in Thief Deadly Shadows that they were going to kill him, but it turns out there's a prophecy that they're reading, and his name keeps appearing in it. So their person who's reading the prophecy basically says, "Don't kill him. He's going to be important later.
Don't kill him. They ain't going to make any more games if we kill him."
Yeah. So the first thief concerns the pagans. Pagans are like sort of the hippies with swords. That's
never going to go well.
All about nature, because they're all about nature and stuff. And they have this god called the Trickster God, and Garrett is basically tricked by the Trickster God into stealing some artifacts for him. And Trickster God tries to raise an army to take over the city, and Garrett defeats him. The second game, which is probably one I like the most out of the 3, actually, is called the Metal Age. And it follows the Hammerites. The Hammerites are this sort of almost like Catholic faction, but they're based on the Builder God. I quite like the Hammerites, actually. I think I'd probably be a Hammerite if I was in Thief. It's all about building and engineering and structures. They're all about making things, and the work is all about things. They're called Hammerites because their main weapon is a warhammer, which they do swing at you very hard. And in the Metal Age, it's like a subsector of them goes rogue and basically goes down the route of being like ultra. He basically wants to go like anything green is bad, metal everywhere. We're going to wipe out all life basically, apart from those pet things, and it gets quite creepy and stuff. He's got any basically there's like robots that drop roll ground and will shoot cannonballs at you. It's really good. And then and you basically defeat them. And then finally, you have the Keepers. And Deadly Shadows concerns himself with the Keepers. So each game basically takes on one of the factions. The Keepers are all about maintaining not so much status quo, but what they call balance. So you try and prevent one faction getting less powerful than the others. And they're like almost like a background referee into the city that they use glyphs and stuff to control things, and they will try and sort of like hopefully prevent things getting out of control and so forth. And Garrett spends a lot of time dealing with the Keepers. And this game is based all around the Keeper faction. About one thing about the Thief tends to do is you don't get the full picture to quite late on what you're doing, and the sort of bits and pieces you're basically most of the game you're trying to find out about this prophecy about the Brethren and Betrayer. You don't know who it is, but you want to try and find out what it is and what they're doing. And the game is trying to find information about it, and then when you do find information about it, dealing with them and what they're actually going to do. I want some more twists about it.
Just as a note about Thief, because you sound like it takes a while for him to kind of get to the meat of it. This could be every Thief game, but like I swear there's like parts where your geezer's like, I need to go pay rent.
Yeah, that literally the very first mission, I think like the second or third mission of like Metal Age is, I'm going to the docks tonight because landlord's coming tomorrow.
You just need to get some coin to pay your rent.
But that docks, you see, that basically introduced that mission is actually very cleverly crafted. Is it introduces here's interesting what they did with Thief Metal Age to P. So for the Dark Project, they came up with a storyline and then made levels to match the storyline. Dark Project also was more action. It had a lot more action bits in it. There were like whole segments where you'd be having to fight like big monsters and creatures and stuff, and rather than full stealth. Sort of the second game, they basically did away with all that and focused just on the stealth aspect of it. A lot of people actually enjoyed. The second game, they basically designed and planned the levels first, and then made the story to go around them, which is an interesting way to do it. But you get some really classic levels and stuff. So the dock level basically is your first introduction to the Claris's faction, the Mechanist. Oh, not commerce. Yeah,
those guys.
Those guys. The Claris's faction, the Mechanists. I think. Yeah, Mechanists. That's your basic first introduction because you'll counter some of their equipment and stuff in a warehouse on the docks. And that's your first sort of like teetering it. But then things all start happening. They sort of like try and target Garrett and stuff. You don't know why. And eventually it leads back to them eventually. And Deadly Shadows, you spend a lot of game doing stuff and you're not really sure why you're doing it. You do it because like first the Thieves ask you to steal some things, which you do. And then you'll go and you'll like, oh, actually I'm going to try and find, they need these other items of prophecy. I'm going to try and find those, which you do. It's only sort of quite late on that all of a sudden it becomes clear what you do. It's like probably like the last third of the game, I would say, that actually you suddenly realise what the plan is afoot and what's going on. How you need to deal with shit. It's so mechanics, gameplay wise, it's also you could be like, it is possible to clear body, but you're not in a straight fight. You're going to struggle. Really, the game is set around being stealth. It's about sneaking past people. Now, if you get the drop on people by sneaking up to them, you can knock them out. Pretty much all enemies can be knocked out in one hit.
Well, yeah, sure, because it's from the kind of the golden age of gaming where you weren't playing as a giant superpowered space marine. You're just an average bloke.
Thief does the best thing that a stealth game can do. And a stealth game, and I've said this before many times, stealth games should make you feel both simultaneously very powerful, but also very vulnerable. So you've got a blackjack that you can take out any enemy. If you get up behind them, you're going to take them out in one hit. But if they see you, you ain't going to last long unless you can run and hide quickly.
Sure.
You ain't going to last long at all. So there's every time you sort of approach the enemy, there's this very much like sort of risk reward of are you going to turn around and see me and so forth. Now at the lower difficulty levels, and one nice thing about Thief as well is that every mission you can change difficulty level at the start. So every mission, it's not a game setting for doing it. It's at the start. You can just choose to go for like easy, medium, hard, or very hard, expert difficulty levels at the very start, which is quite neat. So if you find like one mission too easy, the next mission you might jump up a little bit, or if that's a bit of a struggle, you might drop it down a little bit. You can do. And the missions basically, the difficulty levels basically will change number of guards. It will change how aware they are, so it will change how alert they can pick up stuff. It will change your basic goal of every mission. The goal of every one, apart from your special goals, your basic goal is collect a certain percentage of loot. So if you say if you take normal, for example, it's 40% of the loot, which is very easy to do. I think expert's 90%, which is actually not that bad. That's actually quite doable.
It's not that bad, but I need to be able to carry them extra knives and forks.
Yeah. Well, luckily, there's no weight in Thief. You just pick them up and you see your backpack and boom, you got it. And
he's got the old broken sword, George Stobart pocket, just in it goes.
And there's also like special loot as well. So there'll be like a Pacific painting or like a golden crown, special loot that you can pick up. And high levels require you to get a certain amount of it. So, like normal, you need to get 1 out of 3. Hard is 2 out of 3. And experts, all of them. So you have to and yeah. So it's definitely basically doesn't the actual like sort of like main missions though don't change that much. It's more like sort of the guards and what you've got to do. And so you sneak around. You can defeat the guards. You can use either your blackjack to knock them out non-lethally. You've got a dagger which you can kill people with. Now the game makes. One other thing is it comes from an age of gaming where the game itself makes no moral judgments on you. You want to kill people, fine. It's absolutely fine. If you kill people, they do make noise, and they die, and leave blood behind. But you can just if you want, you can just kill people. And it doesn't say, hey, that's bad. You shouldn't be doing that. I tend to knock people out. So you choosing just to knock people out is your own personal moral judgment.
Yeah, sure. I preferred stuff like that, though. Yeah, because it was the game didn't try to force you down a particular. That's why I've always said like you're playing an RPG. You're trying to play a chaotic evil character, and you've seen the meme, and you're like, hello, it's FBI agent Hitler, because the game forces you to like go down a goody two shoes part at some point or other, or there's some mechanic that will require you to be a certain level with a certain faction to do a certain thing. And you're like, just let me play the game. Yeah.
I think the biggest actually credit for one game that does this in a bad way, but it was trying to do something, but I disliked it immensely, was Dishonored. I like Dishonored as a game. I really enjoyed Dishonored because Dishonored, a lot of the ex-Thief deads went to go and make Dishonored. And even Dishonored 2, Corvo is voiced by Stephen Russell, aka Garrett. So playing Dishonored 2 is like playing a newer version of Thief. However, they introduced this chaos mechanic where if you kill a lot of people and so forth, you end up with the mission with either high or low chaos. If you kill more people, you end up with high chaos. And that will then basically give you it'll basically change the ending of the game, give you a bad ending. It even changes the weather in the later parts of the game. It'll make certain things happen later levels, like you will encounter like more zombies and stuff. And I really dislike that mechanic because basically it's like, well, if I don't want to deliberately make the ending hard, I have to play non-lethally, and there aren't that many non-lethal options. It's the amount of ways you can kill people in that game really grieves me. It's loads, but non-lethal options you basically ain't got much at all. You basically not. I think you choke people out in that game. You ain't really got many options. So it's sort of like Mister Points. Like, frankly, I think the chaos mechanic should have been stripped out of the game completely. Forget about it. Don't have it at all. Let people make their own moral judgments. And some of its moral quandaries as well were quite weird. There was like one where, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I played it, but I remember at the time thinking that's a bit odd. You come across like a guy who's basically being forced to be kept alive by his business partner because he needs him. and he's like suffering and in pain and stuff. And you'd think that relieving him of his pain, that he wants to die, he tells you he wants to die, you'd think that'd be a good thing, but it's not. The game treats it as a bad thing, punish you for it. It's like, so the good thing to do is to let this guy live. Alrighty ho then. And I might be.
And he just stays there and he's suffering. And
yeah, I might be misremembering that somehow slightly, but I remember at the time it left a bad taste in the mouth.
I've played many a game that's like that, and you're like, surely that shouldn't be right.
Yeah,
you're being a dick to me because I'm doing the right thing, or what I perceive to be the right thing.
Yeah, I don't mind making characters comment on you or do something. I don't mind that sort of thing so much.
I will say I wasn't a fan of that in Human Revolution.
Yeah, Days of Human Revolution.
Yeah, some of the snarky comments that are made to us, like, you have no idea, mate.
Yeah.
You've got two options. You've got two options. I'm either a serial killer or I don't know.
I mean, Human Revolution wasn't as bad as it's not as bad as Dishonored. Dishonored, that is its big failing. I love Dishonored as a game because it does play very much like Thief, but that's its big failing as the Chaos System. Just Human Revolution anywhere near as bad as that.
I think it might just be because I don't like the tech guy in Human Revolution.
He is a
he's a
twat. Yeah, he is a dick to you. He's an absolute dick to you. He doesn't like you from the start. Towards later on in the game, you and him do start to see eye to eye and start to become sort of like friendly. But at the start, he is an absolute dick to you. Well, he's meant to wind you up and annoy you. So back to Thief though. So options you've got available for dealing with people. You can either knock them out, or kill them. Doesn't matter which way you do it. You won't really get any comments on it. You have weapons to help you. Other weapons you have to help, or more tools really. You have broadhead arrows, which you can shoot somebody at range. Because right early on, until quite late in the game, you have no option of dealing with people stealthily at range. The only way to knock them out is to get up close to them. Later on, you do unlock gas arrows, which you can knock people out with at range. You have fire arrows, which, again, kill people. They're mainly useful for, like, killing undead. Because undead creatures won't die easily. You basically... they're very hard to kill normally, but fire arrows will kill them very easily. So you tend to use them for them. Also on the tougher monsters. You've also got water arrows, as you mentioned earlier, which you use to put out flames. So they're mainly used for knocking out flames and water and stuff. Moss arrows will, if fired on the ground, create a place, a soft ground you can walk over. What moss arrows also do, which is quite fun, if you shoot at an enemy, you basically temporarily disable them because they'll start coughing and choking on the moss. And whilst they're coughing and choking, you get past them. They'll be alerted afterwards, but you can get past.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, the game's got lots of little emergent gameplay features. You can sort of like sneak in there as you do stuff. Like there are guards with torches as well, so you can shoot with water around, put the torch out, which like, really annoys them. You also get like mines, there's gas mines, or there's noisemaker arrows, which basically make like a far right noise wherever they hit, so that distracts people away. So you have got some options to do. So you've got quite a few options of stuff to do to deal with people and so forth. You've got like flash bombs that basically is like a little flashbang grenade. That's like your get out of jail free card because that will basically blind everything. Most monsters will be blinded by that. And you can just get away because they'll be blind. They can't see you and pursue you. I just know that if guards know you're there, they like get tougher. So if like a blackjack will knock somebody out from behind, they don't know you. If they know you're there, it's going to take like half a dozen hits to get close to knocking them out. So it game has a nice balance of warding stuff and do. Oh, and so many little like emergent gameplay features. Things like fire arrows. If you fire near a torch you've put out, it'll set the torch back on light. Little things like that they thought about and did. It's really quite neat. So and it's got and even this playthrough, there's so many hidden things in it. I found areas I've never found before, and I've played through this game probably about 6 or 7 times. It's probably my most replayed game. I used to play it every year for Christmas.
Not additionals because of the mod, or just
nope. They were there all the time. I just missed them every single time. I found a hidden area in the cradle. I found a hidden area I didn't know was there.
So when you play, this is going to sound really, really dumb, but like you play it every Christmas or so.
Not for
have
long,
you just been
but
playing it, gone through the same routes? Like, have you just found a route and you've gone, this is the
virtually
optimal route?
pretty much. I just enjoy the experience so much.
Sure.
I mean, I haven't played it for a lot of years, but when it first came out, I played it. I did when it first came, because it came out in May, which is the worst time of year to release a Thief game because it's bright lighted over all day long, and you need to play this game in the dark. Oh, Thief also is the only game. It's the only game that's made me scream out loud twice. The first time I was playing it one evening, day into the evening, I was in the Hammerite Cathedral, and I opened up a cell in like one of their factories, and I saw a dead body in the ground. I think, oh, dead body. Okay, I'll go and investigate that. But I'm not so I'll just walk forward. Turns out it's not a dead body; it's a zombie. It just jumps up at me and goes, ugh, and I scream.
At least it wasn't a spider, huh?
No. Mother comes running through the door and says, you're right. I said, yeah, a zombie nearly got me. And then the Shellbrick Cradle, which for a long time was considered one of the most scariest levels ever made. It had a massive reputation at the time. I mean, because right towards the end part of the game, it's literally like the sort of penultimate proper level of the game. There are some like sort of mini levels in between, but it's sort of right at the end, and it is so well designed. It is first time playing through it. I literally couldn't play it for more than like half hour, 40 minutes at a time. I had to stop because it creeped me out so much. Because the monster design is so well done. I mean, now lots of games have done similar things now, so it's a bit like going back and watching an old film. And you see all the like tropes a bit. They did a lot. They spent a lot of time researching what was scary. They took inspiration of like sort of like previous horror games like Silent Hill and stuff, like sort of psychological horror. Like the enemy types in it are undead, but they are like ultra. Whereas normal undead will chase you, these guys are really fast. They're really tough, and they do little things like as they wander around, you can tell where they are because they cause the lights nearby to flicker. So you'll just walk down a corridor, you'll just see some lights flickering, and you go, I know there's something down there waiting for me. Little things like that. And yeah, this game, I basically, same thing happened to me. I just sort of ran one corner to another undead and screamed. And,
oh, mate.
Yeah, I feel I literally load this level up, and because I load this level up, I think I come home from we've been out, and I come back, load level up, and I think I was playing it for 10 minutes. Encounter the zombie, I was so scared I had to save and quit there and then, so I played for 10 minutes.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's even now, it's still obviously once you played it a few times, you know what everything is. But even now playing through it, the sound design makes it feel really oppressive. It does still creep you out a little bit.
Do you play headphones or through speakers?
Speakers, 5.1 surround sound.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That's creepy. That is still a very creepy level. Not as creepy as the first time I played it, obviously, because I know what's going to happen and stuff. It doesn't even make use of jump scares, which is interesting. There's no jump apart from like, and the thing about the zombies jumping up at you is if you see they're there, you can deal with them.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not like it's a jump scare that you're forced on you. You can avoid it if you're paying attention. But yeah, this it doesn't. But other than that, it makes no use of any jump scares whatsoever. Which is I
hate jump scares. They're so cheap.
They are cheap. Yeah, they are cheap because you jump and stuff, but you don't feel like you've been scared. You feel like
you can startle anyone.
Yeah, it's a reaction rather than a scare.
Yeah.
And afterwards you go, fuck's sake.
I blame YouTube for that stuff.
Yeah.
Early YouTube Let's Players. Overacting a proper hamming it up. It's like, guys, come on. It's about as scary as a Saturday night curry.
Yes. But yeah, it's got the level design. All levels on it I feel are really good. They're all well designed. They've all got lots of little hidden things to find. Play it again, and sort of obviously been a few years I play back to it. Where it does fall down a little bit,
it doesn't. Don't lie.
There is one bit does fall down a little bit on, and this is fairly minor in the grand scheme.
Leave him alone. It's just playing. You're safe, mate. It's fine.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
So interlocking for the first time to link all the levels together, you have what they call the city. You can explore the city. So there's like 5 or 6 like sections of it that you basically can go around, and there's like some houses to rob, and you'll come across there'll be just all like NPCs walking about, and if you see one with like sort of like you'll see walking past, and you'll see like they're wearing like fancy gear and like the like necklaces or bracelets or tiaras, and you can like mug them and steal their gear. And
Witness State Simulator.
It is, yeah. Your fences are in the city, so you have like there's like 5 different fences, or technically 4 because one something happens to one of them, and they will basically take your loot is divided into like 3 types. You've got like gold, gems, and artwork, and most of them only take 2 types. Well, they all only take 2 types a pair, so you have to go to each fence and sell and so forth. There's also shops as well where you buy your gear, and this is where it gets a little bit annoying. Each shop only sells 1 type of elemental arrow, so water, moss, which is
water from Geezer over there, moss from over there, fire from the bloke down the back.
That when you want to just restock on certain hours, because the city hasn't been stitched together like the rest of the game. It's still got loading screens in between each section. It's like I need to buy some fire arrows. I've got to go through 3 loading screens to get to the bit of the fire arrows.
Is there not a part in the patch?
I haven't. Again, I try. So that's probably there might well be a patch update that means all the places sell all the stuff. There might well be an option in there to do that, and that I wouldn't. And actually, that would be a welcome theme. Like I say, I try to not change the core experience too much.
Yeah, sure.
But in hindsight, like, actually, that's kind of frustrating having to go to 3 different shops to buy each of the elementals to restock. That's kind of frustrating. So I don't miss it. But the city's probably the sort of weak. I know something about the city is you go and you rob the places. You just and the loot respawns every sort of day. It's the same place. You're in the same place. And the first time you go through an area, there'll be like little stories. So there's like a guy who's hiring a thief, who's someone else, and who's playing to be you. He's playing to be Garrett. And you overhear them having this conversation, and that you'll see the job he's going to do. And if you do the job for him, he'll pay you instead, because he's got sets on like a dead drop that he's going to pay you with. There's another one a guy who gets caught cutting gems, and you'll encounter him, and you can basically like defend him and so forth. But whatever you do, they sort of disappear. That's it. That only happens on the first day, and then they don't appear again. So the second day it feels empty.
Sure.
The only sort of thing that sort of this like goes on sort of day after day is there's 2 guards, and they have a chat every day about one of the guards has got an injury onto his hand. There you go. Basically, it's you. And he every day talk about him going to the doctor and various treatments and stuff. And he's like bathing in ox blood and all this. It builds a little story over the course of several days. You get a little storyline going on between the 2.
Sure.
That's sort of like I would like to more of that would have been nice. Also, actually, one thing I'd say about Thief as well is one thing that other games stealth games have done, which makes them, in my opinion, feel a bit weak and a bit cheaper now, is the guards in Thief were just dudes doing a job. When they're talking to each other, they're like, "Oh, I'm just going to go into the shop." They're not like in most modern stealth games. They specifically make the guards dickheads.
Yeah,
they're just dickheads to be dead. The reason is so you don't feel bad when you kill one of them, because they say this will make these guards all assholes. But actually, the guards in Thief are designed to be sympathetic, and they're not so much sympathetic. They're just meant to be like normal people. They're just people hired to be a guard.
Yeah, they're just geezers doing their job so they can put food on the table and.
Yeah, and it's like that's why do all guards have to be assholes in modern games just to make you feel?
Because everything has to be political, and you have to be justified to do really shitty stuff to people.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, if you kill a guard who's like talking about like going to get like who's moaning about his boots, and you kill him, that feels you feel so bad about it, and you should feel bad about it because you have just killed somebody who's just doing their day-to-day job. So I do like about it. Because I could, as you say, I go for a long time about 50 Days Shadows. It is such a great game. I've enjoyed it immensely. Every day I got about, I can't wait to play a bit more Thief tonight.
Are you going to do a playthrough, or is that beyond the scope of?
I could do a playthrough. I've completely finished it now. I've played through the whole game now. I finished it last Saturday. But it took about 2 weeks to go through the whole game.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've played sort of like off and on here and there. I think, well, I'll tell you, I'll look on my Steam. I'll tell you what my play time was for Thief. Bear in mind, I know where most things are now, so I know where like most of the loot stuff, so I can go through quite quickly. That took me 15 hours to replay through Thief from start to finish, yeah. And that's, if you went into not knowing what everything is and how to do it, because obviously I know how to do all the like special work out all the puzzles and stuff. If you didn't know how to do that, that'd probably take me like 20, I reckon. It's such a great game.
Yeah, I could probably see that.
Yeah. So honestly, it's so yeah. And I used to play it for a long time. I used to play it every Christmas, about 4 or 5 years, and then obviously you stop. But I felt like for some reason I just had the feeling this year, do you know, I fancy playing FIFA again. So I'm so glad I did. I may go back and play the first two again as well. It's such.
We're avoiding the other one that isn't really Thief.
Oh, I'll play through Dishonored again. I like Dishonored. I do.
I know I do like how we're avoiding. Wasn't there a Thief 4, or did they actually cancel that? Like smart devs.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was like that, huh? Okay.
Yeah. There was this game that came out was called Thief about 2014, but no, we know nothing about that. That
was the emo phase, weren't it, for everyone? Because I think they did something similar with Devil May Cry. They decided to reboot absolutely everything.
Yeah, Thief. That was they've basically broke all stuff that made Thief good. Dickhead guards. Garrett is his twat because they thought every potato had to be edgy. And
yeah, they had to have food.
They had to have attitude and be rude to people for the sake of it. Garrett in Thief is a bit. He's overall. He's actually quite. He's a bit snarky. He doesn't like authority. So when
it comes with the territory, he's a fucking thief.
So when he deals with the keepers, he'll be rather snarky to a lot of them. But only like the ones higher up. The ones all low down, he's quite happy to have a chat with and so forth. And he's actually a fair. I think he's the sort of person you'd happily have a pint with. This is my judgment of characters in games. Is would I have a pint with them? And I'd have a pint with Garrett. The new Thief Garrett, I couldn't stand him. Modern Garrett Thief. And I said modern Garrett Thief because, again, the Thief in Garrett, he lived in a shitty little apartment in the original Thief. Modern Thief, he lives in a clock tower. Because, he has to have a cool base. Yeah. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, you've missed the point. You've missed the point of what made Thief relatable in a weird way. You've kind of missed the point, and it was. I did play through the whole game, but I literally can't remember most of it. If truth be told, I couldn't even tell you what the storyline was. It's just all like been erased from memory.
To be honest with you, Ram, that sounds right for a modern game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I won't talk about the Thief game. But yeah, Thief, good game. Really glad. And if you've not played it, I really recommend you. But you will need the sneaky update. You can't. It's basically very hard to play without the sneaky update because it does fix so many things.
I wonder how it'll work on the Steam Deck. Like if it'll just.
I think it's got to. Oh, one thing there is one problem with Thief, Deadly Shadows, and there was a bug in the city area. I don't know if it's and I vaguely remember this being a bug the first time round. The city area crashes roughly every 20 minutes. If you're in the city areas. So save often. The main levels are fine. The actual missions are fine. It's fine, it doesn't crash. But in the city areas, roughly every 20 minutes, the game crashes. Must be memory leaks. Must be.
I was going to say.
Must be a memory leak somewhere, but I don't know what's causing it. But it doesn't matter what city area you're in. So when I'm in the city areas, I try and just get them through as quick as I can.
F5.
Yeah. basically.
Upward crash doesn't matter. F5.
But yeah, so I said I gush on for FIFA for a long time, and I probably have gushed on for FIFA for quite a long time. So I will stop myself there.
Yeah, it's fine. You balanced my pointless FPGA ramble because I didn't go anywhere with that. It was great.
Oh, bloody
if they
hell.
got here,
yeah. Good
job.
I have been gushing, but it's been going an hour and 25. I've been gushing about FIFA best part of an hour. So
it's all good. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
good game.
Well, it is a good game. Well, on that note, I'll just say thanks. So I'm going to end it here. Unless there's anything else you want to add before we carry on, before we end today, Skazz?
No, it's good. Thanks for inviting me back for this one, man.
Yeah, thank you. We might sneak onto our Christmas one, maybe.
I'll think about it.
So, thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. You can check out our website at wanners.co.uk. Our next broadcast, well, I say broadcast, our next episode will be coming out on the YouTubes on the, he says, looking at the date, on the 21st of December. There'll be a video out for that. So come check that one out. You can also check out our games night. Now, we were meant to be doing games night tomorrow. That I don't know if that will be happening or not. It might just be me streaming something. But there'll be something
Zaber's
on.
dead.
Zaber.
Ram's been streaming.
A little bit.
He's been streaming. I was like, Ram's gone live? Is it podcast night? No, he's playing a game. Twitch.tv/the Suffolk Ram. Go there.
It, yeah.
Do it.
So I might, if Zaber's not around, I might just stream something myself tomorrow night. So you can check that out. But yeah, and are you still streaming at the moment, Skazz? Or are you off streaming at the moment?
I'm on and off. I'm on and off.
Well, keep it on twitch.tv/Skazz. It's SK4ZZIZOUS.
Legend.
And keep an eye on that and see what his streams. But yeah, so if not, and also over Christmas, you'll see our Christmas episodes coming out. We are playing a Escape First Class The Train of Thought. Means it's a mouthful of a title. It's a puzzle game.
Oh, right.
And it's set on a train, and you have to wait from one carriage to another. And I think you need a PhD to complete this game, because there are like 3 puzzles which we solved. We're not quite sure how.
All right.
I don't know why that worked, but it just did.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, so that'll be coming out. I've got literally 1 episode left to edit. I'm really pleased.
It's not related to Alchemist, is it?
No, it's a very similar name though. Strange enough, we found it when we looked at because when I looked at first Escape Alchemist, I mean, this game came up. And I said, "Oh, Zaber, what do you think about this?" Because it was only like £3. I said, "What do you think to this, Zaber, for games night?" He's like, "Oh, that looks alright for Christmas." He said, "Yeah." So I said, "It's only like 3.5 hours long." So yes, we met up once. We met up on a Sunday a couple of weeks ago and played through it. Took us about 5 hours. There was one mission where there's one chapter of an hour and a half. I have edited a lot of that out.
You were looking at it going, what have we got to do? Where have we got to go? And it turns out there's this one corridor, this one turn that just looks too dark for it to actually be anything.
The trouble is, about getting too big discussion of it, the biggest issue with it, as a puzzle game, it does one thing I hate in puzzle games, and that is pixel hunting. You are looking for shit. Don't. And if you can't find that one thing you need, you can't get past the puzzle. You know, if you're going to lock stuff away behind other puzzles, don't just hide it. You have to find a load of books in a library.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the Alchemist game we played on the 24 hours it had something similar where either Zaber or I knocked over a vase and there was a key in it and we needed that key. But we wouldn't have known had we not have just been prattling about and because we got stuck.
I don't like that sort of stuff in puzzle games. Just lock it behind, make stuff behind puzzles. Don't lock things away by having to find stuff. But anyway, look out for that. That'll be coming out over the Christmas period. Cool. So yeah, so from me, the Suffolk Ram.
Skazz.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good evening.
Take it easy, guys.